Frieren always finds a way to f us over. Listen, I may make my jokes, but I do really want a fucking fourth member, goddammit. I'll take literally Hobo Steve on the road at this point. Let's replay that real quick. Let's soak that in. Oh yeah, this is definitely the fucking episode of the season. You better not make me spit out my coffee. We don't like spitters around here, so don't make me spit. That shit still stings. He may not show a lot of emotion at face value, but the partner's death is something that deeply affects him. It's the fucking kid from the tower. I knew it. Remember when I said that child better not be the reason we fucking die? Definitely a really cool design for a boss. Okay, that's brilliant. But I like the fact that as strong as Stark is, he actually has to build up that momentum and, like, have the strength and speed to throw that shit. Understandable. Because he was still... That makes sense, right? Because the fact that not only did he point to him, Stark ain't moving. I love it when they hate me. At some point, he is officially gonna join? Alright, we'll just keep Hobo Steve around for a little bit, then. Oh boy, of course you know those are just some of the highlights. The full uncut live reaction is over on my Patreon, but let's jump into it. We got a lot to talk about this week. I mean, you could argue this week's episode of Frieren was one of, if not the best we've seen in the show today. I'm not going to say the overall best, because I'm sure if I really sat down and thought about it, there are episodes I put above it. Definitely the highlight episode of Season 2, and I think among a top 10, you could probably even justify a top 5 if we really wanted to, episode of Frieren today. But it did come at quite the cost. Now, of course, what I'm talking about isn't a big death, because everyone did obviously win. I don't know why you'd assume anything else. But what I'm actually talking about is we almost had a new party member. Now, I kind of understand on a personal level, these three have really grown accustomed to each other. They really like their dynamic, and to have someone new join permanently or even semi-permanently is, you know, you got to make sure they really click with you. And to be honest, as much as I may make fun of Methode and just some of her questionable behavior, I do think she would have fit in with this party in a very fun way, because she basically says, I will join with you as your priest, because traveling where you're traveling without someone who's dedicated to healing spells is a recipe for disaster. And to be honest, while I wasn't initially thinking she'd last forever, I'm thinking, okay, I mean, for months of their lives, we might have a temporary party member. I'm good with that, because I'm kind of looking at it as the fourth slot in this party is kind of an open slot. It can change depending on the situation. And I'm not going to say I don't understand why Fern and Frieren decided to basically tell her to pound sand, because at the end of the day, I mean, Fern hates her guts. But even with that said, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily, Fern, Frieren, and Stark are all going to hate a variety of characters. It doesn't necessarily mean we got to completely cut them off, you know? But it's sad, man. I really was like, you know, even if temporary, like, this would be really good. And what they ended up doing is she basically denies them for a couple of reasons. She says, one, our priest role has already been filled, and two, my girl over here hates your guts. And, you know, that's the face of when you hear that someone hates your guts, because, you know, darkness coded in a way. But I will say, this was unexpectedly sweet, because while yes, I feel like there's been hints that she's like, hey, if Sein ever comes back, he can join back up. But I guess I kind of was under the impression that he had never come back. And also, he was temporary. But after this episode, it's now like, bro, you could have the strongest priest in existence say, I want to be in your party, and the best Frieren would offer is, I can give you a temporary role, but if my big dog Sein comes back, I'm gonna have to kick you out the party, which is honestly what I was kind of hoping was gonna happen here. I was like, oh man, could you imagine we're on the road with her for like 3 months or something? We're in like the peak of Mount Everest. There's demons all around. A Sign randomly pops up, and she's like, okay, you gotta leave now, my boy's back. The greatest episode of Frieren did come at a cost, and that cost is not having a very questionable older woman who's very hot in our party. Now, Frieren likes to justify the fact that they already have an older woman. The issue is Frieren does not look old. She looks like 18 is pushing it. We could have had it all, guys. We could have had it all, and they bastards. They fucked us over. But seriously, like, one of the best episodes of the show. See, last night I saw a lot of tweets floating online about the staff involved, and it seemed like it was a very packed episode. Like, this was gonna be the standout episode of this season of Frieren. And I think, to be honest, there's an argument to be made after watching everything happen. I mean, there's so many little details. Of course, a lot of the up close and personal shots look great, but it's just the way there was small minuscule details that could have been skipped out on and the episode would have still looked good. But it's like the moments when they would go abstract and you'd see the characters just doing this, like there was like 3D environments, there was abstract line work and character design. But there's this one shot too with Stark, and he basically he winds up. He does a circle maneuver in order to throw his axe into a tower, right? Those types of details, one, on a writing level, are just really nice, because despite how strong Stark is, most of these goddamn stories would just let him whip his axe and he'd be great with it because he's strong. Not here. He actually has to wind up to have the momentum to do it. And just to see the teamwork and to see the determination that no matter how bad things looked for either of them, they just refused to let the other go down. And I think it's so interesting that both demons and humans underestimate the other side. I mean, humans underestimating that demons will exploit their vulnerabilities for helping the innocent. Even though you objectively know there's no children left in this town, seeing a child, you don't want to take that. Even if it's like less than a 1% chance that was a real child, instinctively, if you're a good person, you're going to try to save that child. That child turns out to be a demon who stabs you. But still, but to the same degree, you're basically going to be like, okay, this demon's going to think that, oh, you underestimate me because if I don't have my weapons, I'm not strong. But as we see towards the end of the episode, when we are seeing them both stabbed, and I mean, I gotta be honest, I'm surprised either one of them walked this shit off when it was all said and done. I love how the demon also underestimated them, and, you know, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, I think this is the same attack that Stark did when we first met him, in terms of when he was like carving the mountain. If I'm not mistaken, I could be, but that's what I'm going to believe because I think that's really cool and a cool tie back. The thing that's really insane though, the detail, everything, like when he's like gripping into the ground, like you actually feel the details here. Like it's insane work. Like it's the quality that they put into this is next level. Like you would assume the rest of the season looked okay, so this episode could fucking fly. But the whole goddamn season looked good. Yes, a lot of it has been more slice of life dominated, but you can't deny there has been action this season as well. Hell, they've been cooking random action scenes for 30 seconds in a slice of life episode for no fucking reason, but we appreciate them for it. And to see someone who's like, you know, the last time a partner was dying before my eyes, I couldn't do anything. And this time, he desperately was like, I'm gonna crawl to him. I'm gonna save him. What the fuck was he gonna do? I don't know. But I love the fact that when Methode got there, she saw him like flinching and pointing to Stark, so that's why she ended up saving Stark first, who was in worse shape. It's interesting because I think it's a fascinating conversation to have. Imagine he wasn't moving, he was exactly like Stark, not moving, not indicating that he wanted Stark saved. Who do you think she would have saved first? I would like to believe she would save him first, but at the same time, I guess there's an argument to be made. She knows he would want Stark saved first, and she would do it regardless. But it's interesting how the big reason we could assume Stark is currently alive is because this man is making up for a regret he had when he couldn't save his last partner. Even if you can obviously make the argument it wasn't his fault, it feels like he's overcoming that regret. And I think it's such a fascinating episode to watch. There's a lot of layers. Like, a lot of people will oonga boonga gush about the amazing animation and the fight scene because it was awesome. And I mean, hell, we didn't even really talk about Frieren or Frieren or Methode's fight, but it was great too. I mean, the concept of the fog, right? I mean, the fog is the way they can sense mana. So Frieren going outside of the fog, doing the legendary bolt blast, I forget what it was called. At the end of the day, that's a really brilliant way to flex not only how far she's come as a mage, but yeah, like the action's great, but it's the characterization and the writing that steals the show. I'm just sad that we almost had an attractive older lady in the party who actually looked like an attractive older lady and not a young elf. We could have had it all, and then we could have fired her bitch ass when Best Boy returned. Blasphemy. Let me know your thoughts down below on this week's episode of Frieren. Definitely the standout episode, and I think there's an argument to be made. It's in the running for episode of the year. Crazy. Thoughts down below. Drop a like, share, support, subscribing, that bell, Patreon, full live reactions you live over there, and other exclusives. Like, you know, I got to give those video shows to my patrons because they make it all possible over here. All right, so today we got Ranka, Ash, Banjo, Vitico, MMK, Sneppy, Duke Nugan, Torna, and Carather. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. You all have a good one.